Hey everybody, welcome back to another movie review. Hope you guys have been enjoying the content on this channel as of late. Hope you guys have been enjoying the Spider-Man No Way Home review, which is a very lengthy review, so hope you guys are enjoying my thoughts and just my impressions and my probably my the unpopular opinion in that review. So hope you guys are enjoying that. I was gonna do a Let's React to it today, but I decided to scrap it because I just didn't think there was much to that video. There's gonna be a Let's React to it on Christmas Day. It's a Christmas themed episode, so I hope you guys will enjoy that reaction when it comes out. But for now, I decided to make up for my late review of Spider-Man No Way Home. Let's talk about The Matrix Resurrections. It came out as of the release of this video. It came out yesterday. I saw it today, the day it came out. Um, and let's just do the review. Let's just do it rather than just having to wait after Christmas Day. Let's just review it right now. Um, so I just want to, as always, I have my notes, but uh, there will be no spoilers in this review, so don't worry. I'm not going to spoil anything in particular. And again, if you hear any noises in the background, that's just family, noisy neighborhood. You guys know the drill at this point. Um, Also, I'm a little bit lightheaded right now. So if you just hear me talking slowly or anything like that, or if I just seem out of it, I'm just dealing with a little bit of a headache. So, uh, yeah, but we'll persevere. We'll persevere because we're gonna talk about the Matrix Resurrections. So, um, so to properly illustrate my points, I got to talk about the trilogy. I got to talk about the other three Matrix films. Um, Unpopular opinion, but I think that the first film is overrated. Um, I'm not a big fan of this franchise, nor do I believe it holds up after many years. I think that the environment is probably the best part of it. The world that they built in that franchise, in that trilogy, I thought is very interesting. I don't really think the characters are that interesting to follow. Neo and Trinity are like okay characters. Carrie Ann Moss, I thought was one of the better parts of that trilogy. That and Hugo Weaving as Smith. Keanu Reeves was Lawrence Fishburne. So um, now, I recognize uh, the impact that it had on the industry. Like the visuals are pretty revolutionary, um, but that doesn't really do much for me, especially for today, because I think it's for me it's clearly a product of its time. It's something that has become dated, and I think that we've progressed so much since then. And I think that it's great for when it came out, but it does not stack up or hold up to today. So um, I've also believed that this franchise was fitted for a remake. I do think that The Matrix could have been better suited for a remake now that we have like the proper technology to like fully realize the ideas that the Wachowskis were exploring in the original trilogy, like identity and love and destiny, you know. Um, and in some manner with this film, I kind of get what I'm asking for, and then some. So to speak positively, thematically speaking, I mean, it is touching on the same as I just addressed. The themes of the original trilogy were like love, destiny, identity. Uh, this entry, the Matrix Resurrections, it's mostly relying on previous ideas, but it represents these ideas, these questions, in more interesting ways by means of psychology rather than with such clarity that the original trilogy had. Um, it gives like a nice distance, a nice distinction, to where it can be viewed as a standalone piece rather than, just only a sequel. Like you don't have to watch the other three movies to understand this movie. You can walk into it and know what's going on fairly well. There's a couple of details, obviously, that would help if you have seen the original trilogy, but for the most part, you don't have to watch the other three movies to understand this new movie. Um, so I commend the creativity and expression, which in this light I think is one of the better aspects of the film. For another, I think that the navigation of the story is fairly fun. I think I mean, it hits familiar beats, but it hits them in a playful manner, and it doesn't feel like it's a retread, at least for the most part. I mean, there are points when we'll get to my issues, you'll see, but um, it feels more of like a remembrance. Like it's not like Spider-Man No Way Home, where it's like the only thing that the movie cares about is nostalgia. It plays it finds at times like pleasant and earning moments with with uh, with using nostalgia and having it play to the story, you know. So, um, and along the way, you are introduced to some charming characters. I gotta say, there's some interesting characters, some charming characters that are not distracting or annoying, you know. Like Neo is still the main character. It's not like we're trying to follow a new character or anything like that. It's Neo's story, and these new characters, these supporting characters that they bring in, are they're kind of decent to watch. Particularly Jessica Hendrick, who I thought was the best of the performances in the film. I thought her character was very fun. I liked the look that she had, this very distinct look, and I just liked her attitude. It was just kind of a like it was obviously the how do I say it? The kind of like the Morpheus of this story, which we'll get into more Morpheus in a second. But but yeah, Jessica Hendrick was definitely the best performance of the film, in my opinion. Um, Now, as mentioned above, to a degree, um, the way it presents its ideas are fairly fascinating. Um, but therein lies the problem, um, because now we're going to get into my issues. While the representation carries a certain level of interest, the execution is what drags it down. And I think what really drags a lot of the film down. Um, the issues really start at the beginning of the film. The first act, in my opinion, is some of the biggest ego I've seen in a while, because there are loads of self-referential elements, like here and throughout, like throughout the whole film, but mostly here in the first act, where it comes across more awkward, more choppy, and very strange, um, than anything else. And just talking squarely about the first act, um, it feels oddly documentarian and like blatantly personal, as like a lot of what's being spoken, because a lot of what's being spoken in in that first act is clearly about the filmmaker and about their experience with making the original film, among other things. It's like you're watching a therapy session, you know, and it's like also it's like the filmmaker's kind of like saying talking to you out loud and saying, hey, you know, I'm not really sure if I wanted to make this movie, you know? Like it's like she's almost admitting to us that she was not wanting to make this movie, you know? I don't know. I don't it just like it was not ideal for what's trying to be established. And to be clear, like I recognize that this is very personal for the filmmaker. Like clearly that first act, it's like blatantly like in your face. It's personal in whatever regard that is. It's personal. Um, I mean, I sincerely hope that this piece gave Lana some kind of closure, and you know, gave her ways to improve and heal in her own life. But the problem that I'm addressing is that those sensibilities do not provide a solid foundation for this type of story. Um, it makes the elements feel at times pretentious and like showy. Like the whole first act, there's like, I mean, I know The Matrix was like mostly known for visuals, but the way that they like cut to certain scenes, uh, the way that they constantly are like flagging up a certain uh, idea, a certain commentary. Um, like it doesn't feel like it doesn't give like it just makes the elements feel like it does like they don't have much development or depth. Like it makes it feel more obvious than it should. Um, and like I said, like kind of pretentious and showy. It doesn't feel like it's an important part of the story. It feels like we're just kind of shouting at you versus inviting you in to our world, you know. Um, so I didn't really like the execution. I think that that was I think that that was the biggest issue of the Matrix Resurrections. But For another issue, the use of exposition was another big issue because most of the sequences in the Matrix Resurrections are there to develop future sequences, which should not be the purpose of a sequence at all. What you get with that type of strategy is loads of filler and a small amount of purpose. And unfortunately, a lot of the scenes here cannot function well on their own as they are so reliant on explaining the plot versus exploring the plot, um, which is what all scenes should be doing. Um, so um, now I'm not going to talk about spoilers, but we're going to talk about uh, something that I think is going to be pretty divisive amongst fans, which is, and just I would say in general for anybody who's watching, well, mainly fans, mainly fans. Um, there are new developments given to pre-existing characters that like I said, it's going to be divisive amongst fans, especially with one in particular. I mentioned it earlier with Morpheus. It's no spoiler since it's in the trailer. It's in the trailer. There are new actors playing Morpheus and Agent Smith. Um, Now, what they do with Morpheus is troubling because, without spoiling anything, it's not really Morpheus. Um, it's like uh, I must warn you, the press and the marketing for this character is very deceiving. The way that they've been like the way that the actor and everybody else has been talking about Morpheus, it's not what you're thinking. Okay, this is uh, like the best term I can use to describe this new Morpheus is reimagined. I think that that's the best way to put it in um, because they do some really new they do some brand new things with this character to make because it's a very different character. I'll just put it that way, um, because um, it has some qualities and aspects to it that were not present in the other three movies. I'll just put it in that context. You can take that as you will, um, but while it has some flattering qualities, like there are some interesting stuff that Morpheus does and has as you watch the movie, you get some interesting bits about this Morpheus. Um, I mean, while it's flattering in some regards, it doesn't feel complete in its identity. Um, like I had a hard time figuring out certain elements about him. Like they were suggesting a few things, they revealed a few things, and those things they don't really create a full identity. It feels like we're missing a few things. Like we still have a few questions in regards to Morpheus in the movie, um, and it's not like interesting questions. It's like stuff that should have been answered, you know. And as for Smith, I mean, Smith is Smith. It's literally the same type of character. The only difference with him is, well, who's playing him? You know, it's not Hugo Weaving; it's a different guy, and you know that's the one element where I wonder why the original actor couldn't come back and play this role. You know, because it's not it doesn't do or act any differently than how it was before. It's the same character. It's the same guy. So it's just with a different face. So, um, but like I said, there are some interesting angles taken to familiar themes because it's hitting all familiar beats, and again, thematically, it's not really rich in new material or anything. It's bathing in the same waters uh, that the original trilogy was in. Um, but it takes some interesting paths, and I think that it has some engaging performances to follow. But because of an inconsistent line of execution, like really the execution is what really killed it for me. Some heavy-handed exposition, and a very ego-driven and like awkward first act. Like I know that this was a personal film for Lana. I know it was, but it didn't translate to me as personal. It felt like an ego it felt like huge ego in the first act. And it really, for me, that and the exposition, the execution, all of it really put The Matrix Resurrections in a very underwhelming spot. And it further cemented to me that this franchise was better off just starting over than starting where they left off, because it doesn't really have it doesn't really have a lot of reasoning to exist in the form that it does, because it leaves little growth and small progression, which is really baffling to say about a 2.5 hour film. Um, so it has a hard it makes a hard case to why it makes a hard case to why it needs to exist at all. Like a lot, it's like trying really hard. It's like, here's why we should exist. Here's why this movie should exist, and it never really lands. There never comes a point where you go, oh yeah, this is why the Matrix Resurrections has to exist. Yet it never really justifies itself. So it's not a terrible movie. Like I said, some interesting stuff going on. But it's definitely disappointing, and it's definitely does not stack up to the other three. Again, I'm not big on the Matrix, but I mean, the first Matrix I thought is fine. I don't love it. The other two I think are okay. They're not. The first one is a better helmed film than the other two, but I don't think the first one is this masterpiece that everyone puts it as. Um, uh, but uh, but in terms of the other like, I would put Matrix Resurrections probably at the bottom, but in terms of its approach to, again, I like the angles that they take here. I think that the angles that they take here are better than the original. I love the psychological elements. I just think that it just um, the execution of it all just didn't really work for me. Um, so it has some interesting ideas on its mind. I would argue uh, some better what am I trying to say? I because they both have the same ideas that they're using. Basically, what I'm saying is that I think that the angle that they're taking here with the ideas is better than how they took it before. That's what I think. But it doesn't translate into a, like, again, with the execution, the exposition, all that stuff. I just think that it does unfortunately bring the film down a lot, and it is definitely, I think, the weakest of the four. So um, I think, yeah. So so yeah, that's my thoughts on Matrix Resurrections. I thought it was pretty underwhelming, but there are some redeeming qualities to it. Like I said, some decent performances, and again, some interesting angles to play with that they take. Um, but you know, it's not a. Yeah, it just I don't know. I was never a big Matrix guy, so this didn't really hit me as much. I was not as impacted. Um, because I know that a lot of Matrix fans are probably going to be pretty upset with this in certain regards. Um, but I thought it was okay. I think that's the best way. Like a simple yay or nay, I would say meh. So so yeah, that's my thoughts on Matrix Resurrections. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. You guys let me know your thoughts on Matrix Resurrections. Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Are you guys a fan of the original trilogy? Um, or are you guys like me, where I think that the original is overrated? So you guys let me know your thoughts, and that's gonna be it for me, guys. And I'm gonna have that Let's React to It come out on Christmas Day. So I'm gonna be off for a few days um, in terms of recording, because I've been like recording nonstop these past few days. So this is my final video, and then I'm gonna be given like a 2 days off, because I recorded the Christmas Day video in advance. So hope you guys have a great happy holiday, and I'm gonna go take a nap because I still got a little bit of a headache going on. Um, but yeah, Matrix Resurrections, it was okay. It was okay. So that's it for this video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a happy holidays. Be safe. Be protected. Wear a mask. Social distance, especially this week, because Christmas week, lots of people running around. Just be careful out there, and just do what you got to do to keep yourself safe. And we'll get through this together, guys. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.